on this computer. Recording in progress. Is that good? Is that a good attempt? Recording in progress.
Recording in progress.
Oh my god. So, Hayden, I have to take you there.
What's this, mate?
So I went to the Bull for lunch in Ticehurst.
Nice.
I don't know if you've ever been, but oh my god, they do the best chicken burgers known to man.
I have been there, but I didn't have a chicken burger.
You might have just drunk alcohol.
Are they the ones with the saxophone toilets?
No, that's the Bell, which is just up the road. Yeah. So the Bull is just after the Bell, or before the Bell, actually, if you're coming from this way. There's a road on your left and it's down there. Honestly, it's like really nice brioche buns, really crispy chicken, and it's not like greasy and horrible, you know, and it's like succulent, so succulent, the chicken. There's not like grease dripping out of it or two. The burger's really clean. We've got really nice like lettuce, nice bit of thing, comes with some nice like relish. It was so good.
I have to give it a go.
Yeah, mate, if you come down this way, we'll go. I'll take you on a date, me and you.
All right, sweet. It's a date.
It's a done date.
Indeed.
It's a done date. How's everyone been? Is everyone good? Is everyone well? It's miserable here in the UK. For anyone that's not in the UK. But our weather in the UK at the moment is absolutely all over the place.
Really, yeah. It's like, was it where you were? It was sunny this morning?
Yeah, so it was like sunny, and then it was like dark clouds, and they were like, oh, is it going to rain? And then it was sunny again, and I was like, oh no, okay, that's all right. And then literally out of nowhere, heavens open, that was it. Game over.
Rain City.
Yeah. But luckily I'm not having it. So it's not an issue.
So give us an update on this Skinny Food Co. saga then. What's happened?
So I've used the jam. The jam is incredible.
Is it?
Yeah, so it's not as thick as normal jam, but for 5 grams, it's like 7 calories. So like you can have like a good, so I had like 2 crumpets, because it was really random. I just craved crumpets and I wanted them before gym. So I had 2 crumpets with some jam on, and you're like, jam's usually obviously like really dense in like carbs and I say really dense, not massively dense, but it is denser. Whereas I had a good little spreading of jam on there, and I was like, oh, what's it going to taste like? And it was so sweet. I loved it. And then I had the burger relish. So I had the burger relish on. I literally went to the shop and bought brioche buns. And if anyone hasn't been, anyone goes to Co-op, I shop in Co-op because I'm just a little bit weird. But Co-op had some new like reduced fat burgers. So only 130 calories per burger. I mean, you could probably just make them with 5% minced. Don't you call it like 96.4 ground beef in America? Yeah, see? So we just call it like 5% beef. So you can make your own homemade ones. Anyway, yeah, the relish was really good. Now I've got tutti fruity like syrup, but I don't know what that's going to be like. I have a feeling that might not be that nice because some tropical stuff is a bit funky. And then I've also got some butterscotch barista stuff, which I put in a coffee, and that was nice. So I haven't done the tutti frutti yet. And I did try the chocolate spread.
Did they just send you all of this, or did you actually request these things?
Nah, they just sent it. So they were like, hey, we'd love to send you some stuff and collab. Let us know what your name, address, email is, and we'll send you a box of goodies. Thanks, Amy. And I was like, okay, Amy. I was like, and I'm so like, here's all my details. Send me free stuff. So I sent it back and I was like, oh, that's awesome. I was like, do you do any like long-term stuff? Because I was like, oh, some of their stuff's well good. And I've heard like loads of you guys talk about it. And she was like, well, try what we've sent you, see how you like it. And she was like, and if you want, and we can talk about paid partnerships moving forward or whatever.
Very nice.
That jam is done. So again?
It's raining. Ask them to send you this. Hold on, where is my blooming camera? Look.
Porn style martini. Is it nice?
Yeah, it's nice. It's one of those things that you don't actually need a lot of. You can just have a wee tiny bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, ask them to send you some of those because you know a lot of the girls in here don't like water or they're using protein stuff. You can put a couple of bits in that and it'll make it taste nice.
Ah, see, it's smart. They do protein bars and stuff like that now. I don't know what they're like.
That's next on the list. I haven't tried any of that yet. But what I was going to say is they do cookie and brownie mixes that you just add the ingredients. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I just gave them to somebody, otherwise I would have shown you the packet. And literally, I think you can get it in B&M as well, believe it or not. It's only a packet about that size, and you just add the ingredients.
That's quite good because is it
protein max?
Oh, there you go. Because Protein World, if anyone hasn't checked out them, Protein World are good for mug cakes. They got really nice little mug cakes from Protein World, and that's what I've had up until that. So yeah, no, it was decent. I'll bring you some stuff, Hayden. I'll get some little pots.
Yeah, do mate. I literally bought this morning the flexible dieting guide dudes.
Sweet pudding sweets one.
Yeah, he had like 40% off again, so it was like 20. It worked out like I think it was 20 quid or something.
Oh, nice.
So the problem is though, like I think for anyone in the US, it's so easy for you to get hold of all of the recipes. Like he's quite clever on how he does it, and he's like a lot of his recipes has got like some of his stuff in it, but he doesn't ship internationally. He only ships to the US. So like you have to try and like make a bit of a mix of it.
Yeah.
So that in the UK, we don't have like complete fat-free cream cheese. It's not a thing.
No, we only have Philadelphia lightest.
Yeah.
Is what
which is still quite calorie. It's not that calorie dense, but the amount that he wants you to use makes it quite calorie dense.
What was it? So Rosie sent me a what do you call it? It was like a mini carrot cake, and I made it, and it was I can't remember. It was some random girl off Instagram, and she sent it to me, and I made it, and it was actually bloody good. Like I was like, oh, is it actually gonna be that good? You know, is it gonna taste that? And it did. Like I was adding all the ingredients, you know, and you're like, oh, this isn't gonna make something that's that big. But by the time it like blew up, and I put some topping on it, it was actually really nice. Oh yeah, crumpets. Do you have crumpets in America? I don't really know how to describe them. Do you call them biscuits, I think? No, that's not biscuits.
I find that word so horrible, crumpets.
Crumpets.
Such a horrible word.
English muffin. Ah, but we have muffins as well.
A Kentish Huffkin.
I would sell my mum for carrot cake. I would sell a lot of things carrot cake. Carrot cake is the best by far. By a long shot. I am quite hungry now. You know what I've been having recently, which is almost just like it's a really random thing, is soup.
Quite a winter thing.
Huh?
It's a winter thing.
Yeah, I know. But I was just kind of like browsing as I was walking down the aisles the other day, and I was like, oh, soup. And I was like, oh, carrot and coriander. It's like, oh, that's quite nice. But the weird thing is, and everyone's going to be like, you're so weird, Ryan. I have it cold.
That is weird.
So when it's hot, it's nice. So I just had it with like a pita bread, and it was literally like 300 calories.
So why would you heat it then? Why would you not heat it then?
Because it was hot, and I just fancied cold food. I like cold food. I think we've had this conversation. I like cold food.
Didn't you just say it's nice hot though?
When it's hot, as in like the weather's
hot.
Oh,
the weather. I was like, I thought you meant the food. I was like, you heat it then.
What's gazpacho? Is it a person?
It's Spanish. It's basically cold soup.
Oh.
And it's normally tomato-y based with pepper. Like it just looks like tomato soup, but it's just given to you cold. So if you don't know that that's what you're ordering, it's quite a surprise when you think you're getting a hot soup. And it's
Yeah.
Freezing. You're like, whoa.
I'd eat that. Yeah, cold food doesn't bother me. I'm like a kid.
No, not.
Actually, I think I took a picture of that burger earlier. Oh yeah,
Yeah, but there's foods that are hot that you can have cold, like pizza's nice cold, but like
you
soup.
can't really see it, but that's Rosie. They're the burgers. You can't really see it. Honestly, they're like thick brioche, but it's all really like clean. So it's like really like decent.
Did you see how happy Rosie was with those burgers? That was literally a ta-da moment. She's so happy.
Oh, yeah, look. She's like living the dream. So I'm taking a picture of the burgers.
Completely. Oh, look.
Right, team. Should we?
Sounds like Nicky just fell down a hole then. Towards the end of that.
I don't really know how, by the way. I don't know what's going on. I'm blaming the intro.
You just fall over in the end of it.
I'm still sitting in the same place I was when I started.
That was amazing.
Right.
So Ryan, I will just jump out, but I'll still be here for a little bit.
Let's do this. Right. You ready, team? Are you ready? So today we have. Can you see on the screen? I love saying it. I just wait for Leanne to nod. Leanne's usually like up the top. So yeah, cool. Sweet. So today we're going to talk about perfectionism. And the reason we're talking about it is I think I've come a lot of my personal clients I've had conversations with recently about this whole kind of like perfectionism and whether it's come from an outside source of what we deem people think about us, or whether it's just internal pressures that we put on ourselves. But perfectionism has a role, and I think we all have a little bit of perfectionism in us here and there in different areas of life, but it's all about how we can deal with it. And there's different types of perfectionism. And I think it's really important to kind of touch on this today to basically showcase how we can get past it, because ultimately perfection can stop you in your tracks. Perfectionism is something when we're always striving, and we're getting to this to do the best thing, and it can't be anything but this. And the thing is, as with everything in life, it's never going to go your way. And if we always have that mindset and that thought process with regards to those certain things that we're doing, then we're going to struggle. We're going to really struggle to grow into the person that we want to become. So today we're going to talk about perfectionism. So how many of you have struggled to gain momentum through wanting to get it right first time without making mistakes? This goes to weight loss or other areas of your life. Drop me a one in the chat if you've done it. I know I've done it. The perfection gap, when you've waited to start something because you're like, oh, I want to do it like this. I'm such a sucker. Like, I want the perfect time to, so I can sit down, concentrate on something, and then do it with no distractions. And it's like, you know what, just start it, because even if you do it in chunks, you're more likely going to get it done, because otherwise, we're going to get onto this, you're going to procrastinate. And this is what we want to avoid. And, weight loss is one of those things as well, that we often kind of struggle to start, or we start again Monday because we're hoping that that's going to be the perfect time. And that's part of our perfectionism, that we want to wait, get the perfect run up, get the perfect road, and we want that to be what it is. But ultimately, it's not going to be the best thing. So perfectionism, what actually is it? Perfectionism is a set of self-defeating thought patterns through the refusal to accept any standard short of perfect. Now, a lot of us do it, as I already said, in every aspect of our lives. But the problem is it's actually quite self-defeating. And these thought patterns are self-defeating because ultimately what we've got to realize is, like, perfect doesn't exist. So you're waiting for something that doesn't exist, which ultimately just leads to procrastination. And whatever it is we're trying to do, it's not going to happen. So we've got to sometimes learn to just actually, take things head on. So perfectionism is a set of self-defeating thought patterns through the refusal to accept any standard short of perfect. Hayden, do you like the graphic designing aspect of this evening? I did another one like this when you weren't here, and I was really proud of it, because I had to up my game, because Jess kind of comes in and woozes in with all these fancy details, and I now feel like I have to keep it on top.
Yeah, it's pretty slick, I must admit.
We've gone for the usual colours here. So perfectionism, where does it come from? So most of us get it from either being internally orientated or socially orientated. So internally is where we place these beliefs on ourselves. We believe ourselves that we have to show up and produce the best work first time round and nothing left. That's who we are. You know, we're a person that is good at this, that does something a certain way, that it always has to be absolutely perfect, otherwise perfect. Otherwise, there's no point in doing it. You know, we all can probably think of a time when we're like, if we can't do it 100%, we're not going to do it at all. Or we're going to try and wait until we think we can do it 100% and then we're going to go. And these are these internal beliefs that we make. And we always kind of talk about it, about how strong your beliefs are and your standards and your kind of like I suppose it's like principles that you hold of yourself and of things that you do in life, and how you hold these. So internally is where we just believe ourselves that we have to show up and produce the best work first time around, nothing less. So socially orientated is the opposite. It's actually what we think others expect of us. It's who we are deemed by society to be good at something and keeping up appearances. Now, we can always probably think of a few things that, you know, you've been known to be good at this and you've always had to show up and do that, or you've been known as, you know, you're the one at work that everyone can rely on. And so you never learn to say, I was having a conversation with a client the other day, never learn to say no. And we're trying to juggle 57 different things because we're just known that person that whatever happens, you're always okay. And we just keep trying to juggle more and more and more and more. But eventually it gets too much. And actually what we find is it actually can be quite damaging to your ability to grow, but also be the best version of you. You know, we then put on these pressures to ourselves of having to turn up and show up in a specific way. And I always say, life happens. Like, you can think that, you know, you always have to do the best thing and the perfect thing. You have to be the best parent. You know, you've got to be the best worker, the best husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, son, daughter, whatever it might be. And we've got to be this like ideology that ultimately we think that society thinks about us. And that's not right. You know, no one's perfect. It doesn't exist. And we're going to get onto that as well. So why is it actually damaging, this perfectionism? Why is perfectionism damaging? Well, actually, not all perfectionism is damaging, because there's actually two types of perfectionism. It depends on the type of perfectionism that we are categorized into two of the following. Now, we're probably not exactly one or the other, but you might be able to categorize yourself more so one and the other. So we've got adaptive, or we've got maladaptive. So adaptive is where we are always trying to improve. We're optimistic to the work that we are doing and just want to be the best version of ourselves, but understand it's about improvement and learning. That's Ryan's spelling mistake. So what we're going to realize is adaptive is basically, you know, that's the kind of learning. That's the kind of perfectionism that's positive. You know, we're always seeking to learn, we're always trying to improve, we're allowing mistakes to happen, we're always optimistic when we go to work, we're in the belief that, you know, we're going to do our best in that governed situation. We're not striving for anything specific like 100%, but we're going to try and produce the best work that we can, but also we know we're always going to improve. I'm reading the book Mindset at the moment, and people that are adaptive with their perfectionism is ultimately a growth mindset, because you're seeing the ability that you can actually grow. You're not scared of failures. You're quite happy to do something and have to improve and learn as you go. And that's what, you know, you hear myself, Hayden, Ebony, Jess all talk about. You know, we've got to fail forward. We've got to keep moving forward. And it doesn't matter, you know, sometimes if we make mistakes, things don't go our way, or we turn up and we want to produce 100%, but we only produce 80% of the results today, because ultimately that's okay. That's being adaptive. Then we've got the other side, which is maladaptive. So maladaptive is where we're never satisfied with whatever the outcome. We hold ourselves to a very high standard, which can often be unattainable, and mistakes are seen as a bad thing too. So this is where we're basically always looking to be perfect. It actually causes procrastination for the most part, because we don't want to start. Because we're holding ourselves to such high standard, if we don't think we can achieve it, we're then like, well, it's not attainable. You know, so we start to set these unrealistic expectations, and we hold ourselves to such high standard, and it's just not achievable. So we never want to start, because we're like, well, if we start, I don't want to fail. And if we can't do something and absolutely crush it, we just don't start at all. We throw in the towel, and we're like, well, no, if I can't do it 100%, I'm not going to do it at all. Whereas actually, and I remember we used to say that, you know, if you're not going to do it to the best of your ability, don't do it at all. Well, that's not true, you know, because you're not always going to be 100%. You're not always going to be 100% motivated. You're not going to always have 100% maximum time available to do whatever it is you want to do. But ultimately, you've got to realize we've just got to start. We've just got to work it out as we go. Otherwise, we get stuck in this not growth mindset. What's the other one I was saying? What's the other word? Huh?
Fix and growth.
Fix, that's the one. We're stuck in this fixed mindset, you know, of where we are who we are and we can't do any better. And you'll know this, and you'll probably can think of people this. So who here in the group believes that you are born with a certain amount of intelligence or ability, and that's it? You know, you get smart people and you get not smart people. Who believes that? Drop me one in the chat if you think there's kind of like smart people and then there's people that aren't just smart. There's no right or wrong here. No one's going to write in chat now. Well done, Alexis. 0.5. Yeah. And they talk about this in the mindset book. And it's like, a lot of people think that sometimes, you know, like, I think I gave you guys the example of my maths thing. We believe something, you know, oh, we're just this smart, we can't improve something, or we're just this and we're not going to get it. But what you've got to realize is this whole perfectionism is what will hold you back, and it's what gives you this fixed mindset. It's like Michael Jordan got dropped from his college basketball team. He wasn't the best basketball player on his team, but he had such a sickening work ethic and the growth mindset that he believed if he put in enough effort into this, he could become a master at his craft. He wasn't naturally talented. I'm trying to think of the ones off the top of my head. I can't remember what they were saying. There was another smart person who dropped out of something. And that even though he dropped out of something for not being smart, he eventually went on to create, I can't remember what it was. I think it might have been Steve Jobs or someone who actually like dropped out of college, wasn't very smart and things like that, and then went on to like create things. So what you've got to realize is that actually effort goes a long way. And this helps with your perfectionism, because if you believe that you are here and you can't go anywhere and that is who you are and you will always be here, well, then you're never going to be able to grow. Whereas actually what you've got to realize is that effort will take you a very, very, very long way. Yeah, like you can be not very good at something, but you put in time, effort and energy and you learn from your mistakes. Imagine if the first time we got on a bike and we fell off, we were like, no, sorry, didn't manage to do it first time, I'm out. Or the first time you walked. Imagine if you were still crawling around like a baby. Like that'd be embarrassing for everyone here. So you're not though, because you fell and you got back up. And the great thing about when we make mistakes and avoiding this perfectionism thought process is that it is an opportunity to grow, but it's also human nature. Like it is literally human nature to make mistakes. Our body gets the feedback from all of the sensory availability that's there, our sight, our hearing, our smell, our motor controls, and then it puts things into place. You know, they say with sports people that they practice the shots over and over again, so you get the muscle memory from it. Your brain remembers exactly what muscles to contract at what time to produce an outcome. Well, if we never allow ourselves to make mistakes, we're never going to allow ourselves to course correct and get to where we want to get to ultimately as well.
Just on that note quickly before we move on and before I have to shoot, just a funny story for you. So I'm like 100% a firm believer in like everything you're saying. Like you can be awful at anything, but like if you put enough hours in and you really go for it, like you can become like a master in it. So I've got a bet with my friend, if it ever happens to the day where as soon as I become a millionaire and I don't really need to work or anything like that, I've put a bet with him that I'm in my group of mates are known as like the worst darts player, but I've put a bet with him that I bet you I could go a pro darts player in 18 months if that's all I did every day for 18 months. So I'm going to put it to the test. So you'll see me in the spotlight over the next 20 years. I'll be a nutritionist and a pro darts player.
Why not? And like, don't get me wrong, like natural ability does play a part in it. I like you can't deny that. Like I've been there myself. I at the age of 4 picked up badminton and I was naturally very, very good at it. I ended up working way up to national standard and had trial for England. Bearing in mind, everyone around me was training 3, 4, 5 times a week. Their parents could afford to put them through private tuition. My parents can't, so I didn't. I went once a week, that was it. Yet I still managed to keep up with them, which is where natural ability does come into it. You know, looking into that, I'm like, there was some natural ability that was there that allowed me to do that. I didn't have to go to as many training sessions to still get as far as they did. They spent thousands. They literally turned up like 4 or 5 days a week. I didn't have to. I didn't have the best rackets, the best training, but luckily there. So we're not saying that natural stuff happens, that it does. Like, people are naturally good at things, but those people that aren't, and I remember actually a kid I played with, I think he was like number 4, and he continued so hard. He worked his way up to number 1 in county because he purely gave in the effort and absolutely everything to get himself there, which is amazing. Perhaps in the pub, Hayden. Yeah, exactly. You can have pints and darts. So yes, like nature, you know, it will come into it. People will be natural. See, man. So yeah, but the problem is, so more on maladaptive. When we are maladaptive, we often cause ourselves huge amounts of stress and anxiety because we're somewhat scared and try to avoid failure at all costs. So if we are looking at the maladaptive side of perfectionism, the thing is that if you think about it, if you're always worried about failing or you're worried about not doing something perfectly, it causes you stress and anxiety. You know, think back when we've got into a weight loss and we're like, right, it needs to be the perfect thing. You've woken up Monday morning and you're like, right, it's day 1 of my diet. You're stressed, you're pretty anxious, and you're probably a little bit on edge because you're like, oh, how long is this going to last until I like mess up? And you're conscious about like, right, don't get emotional because I don't want to grab the chocolate. Make sure there's no goodies in the house. Like, I've cleared it all out. I've thrown out everything. And it's like, that's where you get when you have these things. You know, you start to feel that stress and anxiety over yourself because you put so much pressure on yourself to turn up. It even is relative in sports. There's something in sport that we learn at uni called the arousal theory, that basically where you get aroused and get so kind of like hyped up for playing your sport goes like this. You know, the more hyped up you get, like within the sport, the better outcome you will get. But there's a point. There's a point of when you then become over aroused. This is where you see players dive into a tackle, make stupid shots, make stupid mistakes because they're so hyped up and they want to perform at 110% that they end up being a little bit too confident, a little bit over trying, and then it eventually comes back down. But this comes to the detriment of us sometimes because it can lead to procrastination and missing deadlines or even completing the task altogether. So the thing is that, and you can probably think at times when you've put off starting your weight loss because you're like, oh, you know, I've got a party coming up in 2 weeks, or I'm going on a holiday in 2 weeks, so I'll have to wait until we get back. You know, we hear all the time, someone's like, yeah, maybe next month because I've got like 2 birthdays and a holiday starting. And it's like, that's perfectionism. We're searching for that perfect time. But the problem is that it just leads to procrastination, longer until we get started. But also we sometimes even miss the deadlines. You know, we literally won't get to somewhere. You know, you want to lose weight for a wedding in 6 months, but if you're still waiting for that perfect time to start your weight loss journey, sometimes people get there and they're like, yeah, the wedding's in a month now. I've wasted 5 months and I haven't got anywhere and I'm just going to turn up as I am. And how some of you have probably even done that. You know, you had a deadline to do something for, and eventually you've like tried, or then you've waited another week, or then you wait another 2 weeks to start the perfect time. And then eventually you're like, well, look, it's like I'm just going as I am. So we're never happy with what we're doing, and we're constantly just looking for things that we could be better at. We could be better. Hold on, does that make sense? We're never happy with what we're doing and constantly looking for things that could be better without any thought as to what went well. And we also reduce our ability to develop our skills as we simply don't make mistakes yet. When we make mistakes, we grow. So basically what I'm trying to say there with that absolutely poor, horrendous English when I've typed that out, because that made no sense to me. So I'm going to read it back to you guys from my head. Is that basically what we're saying is that we're never happy with what we're doing because we're constantly putting so much pressure on ourselves that we end up sucking the enjoyment out of whatever it is we're doing. We're constantly looking for how we can be better. You know, even if you get to your goals, sometimes we're like, well, yeah, it's okay. You know, how many times have you guys come in and you've had a really good week, nutrition's been great, sleep, energy, stress, time management, all these things, and you've written on your sheet, yeah, it was okay that week. And we're like, what do you mean it was okay? Like, everything's moved. You had a great week, because you're still looking for something to be like, no, that wasn't good enough. Like, no, I could have just done that a little bit better. And it's like you're never giving yourself gratitude. And the thing is that if we also don't start these things, you know, and you guys might be thinking of something right now in your life that you've put off for so long, and you've been thinking a bit like, yeah, you know, I haven't done that, and you've just been putting it off. And the thing is that you will stay stagnant, because what you've got to realize is until you put yourself out there and you get outside your comfort zone and you make mistakes, From those mistakes, you then learn from the mistakes and you're then able to grow. You will never move forward. You will literally be stuck where you are because you're only putting a little step outside that comfort zone. Something goes wrong, you're like, no, that's it. I'm going to wait till the next time. Whereas actually, you just got to sometimes absolutely throw yourself into it. Because when you throw yourself into it, you're not thinking about anything else. You haven't got time to procrastinate, but also you're making yourself quicker to get those mistakes happening to then grow. You know, when things don't go wrong, I now look at it and I'm like, okay, cool, right, that's not going right. What can I do? Prime example, I'll say to you guys. So prime example at the moment, I think I've been shadow banned on Instagram because I think my team were pinging out too many messages in one hit. So I think that's got us banned. So anyway, but I've noticed that my following's gone down. My following was like 52.7 and it's now at 52. So I've nearly lost 700 followers over the past month. And I'm like, okay, that's quite a big drop. What's going on there? I had a choice. I could have just been egotistical and being like, man, whatever, it's nothing, it doesn't matter. And I was like, well, you know what? Something's obviously not working here. What can I do to become better? I bought a new Canva course to help my designing. I created an Excel sheet to track all of my metrics on every single one of my posts, the day I post, the time I post, what the post is, likes, comments, save, interactions, and everything like that. And I'm testing different times. I'm testing different fonts, different headlines, and I'm learning and I'm growing. So now I've learned loads about Canva. I've just learned about how to actually use hashtags because I've never really known how to use hashtags. I used to just chuck it on there. I've now learned loads about that. And it's like, these are prime examples when it's like, I now know that in a month's time, I'm going to be better at social media from like a marketing standpoint. Like I'm going to know a lot more about hashtags. I'm going to know a lot more about like fonts and colors and times to post and when to post and when are my followers typically online. And I'm trying new things because although at the moment it's frustrating and I'm just seeing these really bad numbers of like, you know, I think my stories have gone from getting like 4,000 to 5,000 views to like 400 to 500. It's plummeted. So I think there might be something bigger going on here, but I'm looking at what I'm doing and I'm evaluating it. And this is what we've got to remember is it's really easy sometimes for us to throw in the towel and just be like, well, whatever, it is what it is. Like, just keep doing the same thing. The problem is that if we keep doing the same thing, we're just going to get the same results. We've got to, I think one of our mentors told it, and it's quite extreme, but it makes sense. Evolve or die. And it's like, if we don't evolve with what we're doing, we're literally just going to die doing the same stuff. And it's like, here, I could have just been like, man, I'm just going to continue posting the same content, same time, just putting out whenever, you know, posting. I think a social media guy said the other day, he was like, do you post and pray? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I just create my post and just throw it out any time of the day, whenever it is, whatever I fancy. So there's no thought. And he was like, if you're doing that, he was like, there's no thought about it. He was like, you know, you've got to think more about what you're doing if you want to get a specific outcome. So this is what we want to remember, that actually, when we have mistakes, it's important. Don't avoid it. You know, don't avoid trying something new, you know, mixing up your routine, trying some different ways to hit your calories or your protein or your steps, because you never know, you might just find something a little bit better. Because I think it's also part of like, we get comfortable kind of doing the things that we're always doing. Remember, we don't want to compare ourselves from others, but from our own previous work. Now, drop me a one in the chat if you have compared yourself to others on your weight loss journey at some point. Leanne, I've got a great post later, and I thought of you when I was making it that you'll probably laugh. So keep an eye out for this. So we've all done it, yeah? We've all compared ourselves to others. The thing is like we always say, and I always say that, it's like my joining phrase, like we always say, that if we compare ourselves to others, comparison is the thief of joy, because no two people are the same. No one's perfect. Perfect doesn't exist. None of us in this group here, all of those that are in here now, we are not the same. We are very different. We have different personalities, beliefs, cultures, all these different things, principles in life. That's just what makes us who we are. And especially when it comes to weight loss, we're so easy to compare ourselves. But what you've got to remember, yes, a calorie deficit is what we need to achieve. But what a calorie deficit looks like for every single one of these people, every single one of us in here is very, very different, because we're different ages. We're also different genders. We're also got different lifestyles, different steps, different stresses, different hormonal profiles. We've got all sorts of different things going on. Yet we then compare ourselves. Whereas actually, if you think about it, it's like comparing a keyboard to an apple. They have nothing. You know, ultimately you're like, yeah, but they both play a part in Ryan's life. You know, every day I have an apple, every day I use my keyboard. But that's all the similarity is. The similarity literally stops there. but we kind of compare it. And it's like, if we keep doing this, we're not able to grow either, because we then get knocked back. You know, when have you ever compared yourself to someone, unless you're looking for a bit of an ego boost, you never compare yourself to someone who's worse than you. You compare yourself to someone who's better than you. That's how it always is. So what you want to do is you want to look at your previous work. And this is why you guys always hear on your check-ins, probably we talk about, you know, prime example, when people go on holiday, they're like, yeah, I went on holiday, messed up, did this, did that, drunk alcohol, completely blown it, probably undone 4 weeks work. And I'm like, okay, cool. So now tell me, go into a bit more detail about what you did. And there's actually probably 2 things that they did on holiday. Oh, well, I did actually still choose a protein source at the buffet. And I actually did actually go for a walk on the beach because I knew I should probably get my steps up. And I'm like, cool. So that's 2 things that you wouldn't have done 6 months ago. So that's comparing yourself to your previous work. And that's how you want to think. You know, what did I do today that I wouldn't have done before I started my weight loss journey? Rather than what did I do today that wasn't going to be my normal 10 out of 10 amazing day? Because this is where our expectations come in as well. We start to compare what we think our perfect day should be to today. And it's like, who has a perfect day every single day? No one. But if you can look at that day and you're like, oh, actually, you know what? When I went on holiday last time, I literally just did X, Y, Z, didn't even think about my weight loss. Whereas this time I looked at protein sources. I was actually still active. I still went and got steps in. And it's like, that's amazing, because now you're comparing yourself and you're actually seeing how far you've come. You're actually seeing what changes you've made for the better and how you've grown as a person over the coming weeks and points moving forward as well. So some key points to remember, okay, when it comes to perfectionism. So some key points. What do you need to remind yourself of daily? I mean, this artisticness is great. Like, I'm gonna have to keep an eye on what Jess is doing. If we need to up it, like we can throw in, there's no moving here. There's no movement. These are only pictures. You know, we could start to get some graphics, moving things. So what do you need to remind yourself of daily? So the first thing is, no one is perfect. Not one person on this earth is perfect. We must fail forward. Margot Robbie comes close, but even she's still not perfect. Yeah, we've got to realize that we're going to make mistakes. All of us here are going to make mistakes. We probably all can pick out a mistake that we ultimately made today. You probably made a mistake at some point. Yeah, but it's perfectly normal. It's not an issue. We just got to remember that when we have a mistake, instead of looking at it as, oh no, that's it, I didn't have this perfect day, look at it like, right, what can I take away from this? Like, what is it that I can take away from this? And how can I actually make this into a positive? The second thing is just start. Okay, we've just got to start and go at it. You know, sometimes we're a bit worried and we're like, oh, you know, maybe we're struggling with regards to navigating, I don't know, for example, going out. And it's like, well, don't worry and try and think, oh yeah, but this restaurant didn't have like my calories on a menu, so I should probably try and, you know, advocate like we go somewhere else where there's calories. It's like, just go. Like, you just go and go at it, you know, just do your best at guesstimating. And this is where your check-in comes, because we check in weekly to observe what happened and how we can course correct. So even if you didn't manage to do that well when you went out, even if you went away for the weekend and you're like, yeah, it wasn't as easy as I thought, even if you plan to up your steps to, you know, from 8,000 to 10,000, it didn't go your way. Okay, cool. Let's look at why. Like, just start, just go for it, just set something in place and literally just throw everything into it, because as soon as you throw everything into it, you're then just getting feedback, and that's what you need to then actually course correct to make sure you are on the right path. Setting deadlines on things helps with keeping you driven to a specific timeline and stops procrastination. So many times we can procrastinate. As we've already said, we cannot kind of like get started with things we want to get started on. Setting deadlines on things helps. And what I mean by this is, you know, set deadlines with, right, I'm going to hit my calories at least 4 times this week. It gives you a set specific. I'm going to hit my steps 5 out of 7 times this week. It gives you specifics, whereas just saying we're going to hit our steps, there's no specificness to get it done. You know, or maybe you even break it down to the day. I'm going to get my, like I always do for myself, I go to the gym first thing in the morning. I'm like, right, by midday, I want to have at least 6,000 of my 7,000 to 8,000 done, because that's usually from like midday. I'm usually just sat here until like 8. So I'm like, right, cool. What can I do? So this is where like setting some time boundaries, like, right, I'm going to get all of my water in by 2 o'clock. I'm going to hit my steps by 4 o'clock, because I know after 4 o'clock, there's no chance of me even getting them in. So setting boundaries and parameters, because then it makes you do something. Like we talk about habits and that, we have to set specifics. So we set specificities. It stops us from procrastinating. Last one is percentage. Even if we get 1% better each day, small improvements over time will win rather than trying to get 100% improvement all the time. If we're always trying to get, like, imagine trying to do your maths exam and trying to get 100% right every single time in your maths exam. Not going to happen. Even if you're the smartest kid, you're not going to get 100% every time. It's just normal. And the thing is striving for 100% means that the likelihood of you actually getting there is minimal. Whereas if you just strive just to be 1% better, like just something positive that you can take that you did today and you can take that into tomorrow, cool, because all these little things add up. You know, you do 1% better each day, that's 365% better by the end of the year. Don't overlook the small progress markers, these habitual things that you're doing. You know, when you're going away, you're making these conscious decisions. You know, you're doing things that you've set with your coach in place. Even if even if you set something with your coach, you were maybe going to, I don't know, read 5 pages every day this week and you only did it 1. Well, you still did it 1 more than last week. Like, instead of looking at it from a point of view being like, I'm a failure because I didn't get 7, look at it as being like, okay, well, I got 1. Let's see if I can do 2 next week. Because ultimately then you're completely reframing it and you're shifting it. You're not trying to be perfect and get all days in one hit. It's not going to happen. You can't go from 0 to 100. So let's break it down, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to do 1 day, and that's where I'm going to start. So it's like understanding that just a little bit rather than everything is sometimes going to be a good way for you to come as well. So how do we actually overcome perfectionism? You know, we've talked about the way that we can think, the way that we can actually reframe and stuff like that, but we always want to kind of give some practicalities. So what you want to think about, and I don't know if you want to take photos or write these down. So number 1, list everything in your life, including weight loss, that you think, because ultimately as well, not only are we obviously talking weight loss, we're talking mindset stuff here, right? So if we can manage the perfectionism in other areas of our life, it's going to then ultimately reduce your stress. It's going to reduce your ability to act emotionally, therefore help with other areas of your life, i.e. your weight loss, to make better decisions and therefore get better results. So number 1 is list everything in your life, including weight loss, that you think needs to be perfect, whether it's relationships, weight loss, job, parenting. Relationships is probably one of the biggest things, as well as weight loss, that people think should be perfect. People think that you get this relationship, you never argue, you never fall out, you never have disagreements. And as soon as one thing happens, people throw in the towel. And it's this perfectionism. Ultimately, again, it has come from society. Weight loss is the same. We're ultimately given this societal thinking of, you know, weight loss should be, we start it, we get to our goal, nothing bad happens in between, and we're happy. Get a relationship. We get a relationship, we get married, we have kids, we settle down, we die. Cool. It doesn't work like that. You know, you've got so much in between that happens that's going to go through it. A job. Oh, we get our job, we work our way up to the top of the ladder, we increase our wages, we retire, job done. Not like that. You know, it's not like that. We know that, like, you might start your job, get fired in 6 months because you drunk too much coffee from the coffee machine. I don't know. These things happen. It's perfectly normal. What you've got to realize is that where is it in your life that you think the perfectionist lies? Where do you think your perfectionism lies most in your life? Once you've got a list of everything in your life where you think the perfectionism is, what you're going to then do is understand your beliefs around why you think these need to be perfect. You know, why should your relationship be perfect? Or weight loss, why should they be perfect entities? Let's look at weight loss, for example. I believe that I should be able to start my weight loss and just get there in 8 weeks, job done. Why have I got a belief around this? Well, I believe that weight loss should just be this perfect journey. We start, we don't have any issues. You know, I just eat clean, do my exercise, and it's going to be super easy. Now write down one specific way you can challenge this behavior. Why this behavior isn't real life and debunks your belief. Well, actually, what I've got to realize is that life happens. You know, I might have a really stressful day at work and I'm then not able to actually get home and cook my food because I get home too late and I've got to go to bed. So I just grab something easy on the way home. And it's like, ultimately there, what you're doing is you're thinking and you're challenging your belief. You know, I think relationships should be perfect. Why do you think that? Well, I've seen it on the TV and I've seen that, you know, you just get married, fall in love, settle down, have kids, and that's it. You know, everyone just meets one person and they're with them for the rest of their life. Now write down what can challenge this. Well, a way that can challenge this, I'm like, I don't think any of my friends' parents are still together. I know that it's a perfectly normal thing. Sometimes people connect, but as people go through life, they grow. And sometimes people grow apart and they're not actually with the person they originally met 5, 6, 7 years ago. It's normal. So these are kind of thought processes that can challenge what your inner perfectionism is saying. So have a think about what in your life you think about. Understand why you have this belief. Like, why do you believe that? Where has that belief come from? Has it come from parents, friends, wherever? And then understand how can you challenge that? Like, why might that not actually be something? You know, we can all probably think off the top of our heads. what is it that you think should be perfect? And we will probably know we get annoyed when it's not perfect. We can all understand why we believe it. And then also we can probably understand why we need to challenge it and it actually isn't true. You know, why this behavior isn't real life, and it debunks our initial belief, you know, our initial belief that weight loss should be perfect and that we should just go from A to B and get there. Actually, we know that that's not the case. You know, a perfect way to challenge that behavior is that it doesn't take into consideration, you know, the sodium in the food that we eat. It doesn't take into consideration rises in cortisol, which blocks certain receptors that deal with water balance. These things happen, but if we don't know it, then how are we to know? So the final takeaway, look at who likes my character? He's such a dude. So the final takeaway here, I think his biceps could be bigger though. It doesn't look like he's got massive biceps, this one. No one does anything first time in life. It's perfectly normal. Mistakes are then when we get feedback, and we can then use this feedback to try and complete the process, but better. So it's literally mistakes are when we're able to literally come back as a better person. So don't see ourselves as a failure. See ourselves as literally being like, yes, this is a moment when I'm going to grow. If we don't allow this, we are going against human nature, and you will never get better or ultimately achieve your goals. Real talk. And that's true. Like, if you don't allow yourself to make mistakes and you always try and avoid doing the hard things in life because you're worried about failing, you will never grow. You will literally stay exactly where you are and you will never make any progress. You've got to try these things. I remember with one of the clients before, this was quite a while ago now, her thing was like, right, chocolates, massive trigger. Sweets, sorry, it was massive trigger. Couldn't have them in the house. She was like, there's a bag. I won't be able to sit there and it just be in the house. I'll have to finish it. And I was like, right, I want to challenge you, because the whole time you avoid it because we just don't want it in there. I'm like, it's cool. We're going to bring it in the house. She's like, well, I'm going to eat it. And I'm like, well, you don't know that yet. So we were like, right, what I want you to do is have a little bit of that. And then I want you to wait 10 minutes. If you still want more and you still want to finish your bag, cool, do it. I've given you permission to do that. You know, I've said, like, that's cool. This is what we're doing. We can adjust calories if need be. She's like, okay, cool. She got back. She was like, I did finish the whole bag, but she managed to wait 30 minutes. And I'm like, that's perfect. Because the thing is, we could have just avoided it. She could have avoided sweets until, you know, maybe she got to her goal weight, and then she'd have been like, cool, I can put sweets back on the menu. You've never dealt with it because you've just avoided it because you were scared of making the mistakes. Whereas, yeah, and she was like, at first, she was annoyed. She's like, ate the whole bag, Ryan. I said I would. I knew I'd do it. And I was like, well, hold on. You managed to wait 20 minutes longer than we said originally, and you had it in 2 sittings rather than 1. That's progress. And she was like, oh, yeah, well, what I did is I ate it, and then I went and I did a work call. Okay, cool. So what we're going to do tomorrow is we're going to do the same thing. We're going to have a little bit, and then we're going to make sure that we do it around a work call. So we're going to eat a little bit before work call, and then we do the work call. Well, the work call, I remember, was like an extra hour. So it was like 2 hours instead of 1 hour. So then we're able to go like an extra bit, and she didn't even touch him during the call. She was like, no, I actually left them there. And eventually she was able to have sweets in the house because she'd learned the ability to have self-control over it and learned how to program them into her day without causing overwhelm. But if we'd have kept with the same thing and just allowed her to never have those sweets in the house, never touch them because we're scared of making a mistake around them, we're never going to grow. We're never going to, you know, I call it the ostrich effect. If we bury our head in the sand like an ostrich, we're never going to progress. We need to attack it head on, accept that we're going to make mistakes, but it's perfectly normal. You know, you've got to kiss a few frogs in life till you find your prince. It's normal. We've all been there. And remember, as I always say, Ryan Smith 2021, I'm pretty sure I had this last year. Life happens. That's why you've just got to start, go for it, because life happens. And ultimately, if we have this perfectionism mindset and we're stuck with this fixed mindset and we're never looking to challenge that and push ourselves out of our comfort zone, we won't grow. And this comes with weight loss. You know, you're not going to have these perfect days. You're going to have made mistakes. You're going to maybe, you know, think badly or have some negative self-talk at times. It's okay. That's normal. The quicker you can normalize it, the quicker you can keep moving forward from that as well. And apart from that, ladies and gentlemen, that is my lecture on perfectionism. Thank you and good night. We'll take a half-hour break. Snacks and refreshments are at the bar. Help yourself. And I'll see you back here for the interval after. How was that, team? I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it makes sense.
I was going to finish it with thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Oh God, I'd be awful at a TED Talk. They'd probably have to pull me off the stage. I wouldn't shut up. They'd be like, get off now, sir. You're finished. Did that all make sense, team, first and foremost? That's what we always like to ask. You know, drop me a 1 in the chat if that made sense. Also, drop me a 2 in the chat if you've got any questions around it or you're struggling with anything that I spoke about on that presentation? Is there anything that kind of popped into your head that maybe is something that you were struggling with or anything like that? We're all getting 1 so far, which is good. I'm just trying to find type forms to see if we had any questions before I let you all go enjoy your day, evening. Oh, cool, excellent. Oh no, there we go. Cool. So that all made sense. Everyone hit a 1. So guys, let's just do this because this is probably easy. If you are good to go and you're like, yeah, cool, presentation was sick, I'm now going to go enjoy myself and I'm going to make as many mistakes as possible because Ryan said so, drop me a 2 in the chat. If you've got a question about anything, drop me a 3 in the chat. So 2 if you're good, 3 if you got a question, and we'll go from there. There are no questions in the box. So I believe 2s. Perfect. Well, team, it was a pleasure. Thank you for listening. I hope that made sense, and I hope you got some, some initial thoughts there about where is it that you're worried of starting something or doing something, pushing yourself out. Maybe there's something you thought about suggesting to your coach that you want to try. We're here for everything. Maybe there's something you want to try and you're like, oh, maybe I don't want to tackle that yet because it's just not the right time. So there's never the right time. If there is something you guys want to do, and this goes for anything in life, sometimes you just got to do it. Just got to do it, work it out as you go, because ultimately you got a choice. You can either live with regret, the regret of never doing it, or the hardship of kind of rejection, where you didn't manage to make it work and you got rejected by whatever it was you're doing. I'd rather, and I'm sure most of you would, I'd rather live with the regret, knowing I tried it, and rejection, knowing I tried it and it didn't work, rather than regret, wondering if ever it was going to work or if I'd ever actually made it to doing what I was going to do. Now, ladies and gentlemen, is my motivational talk for the evening. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Apart from that, enjoy yourselves. Have a good evening. Have a good afternoon, morning, whatever it is and whatever it is, whenever it is and whatever it is in the world. Apart from that, we'll see you guys in the group tomorrow, Friday. Also, well done to everyone that commented on my post. It's really interesting reading about where you guys shop, what your favorite meals are, your favorite drinks are as well. So yeah, it was quite cool. It was quite interesting. A little get to know you sesh. But apart from that, team, I hope you are all well. Enjoy yourselves, and we'll speak to you tomorrow in the group. Take it easy, guys. See you later. Take care. Bye.